How are you, Kirk?
I'm great, Dan. How you doing?
What do you make of what I had to say about Ohio State?
I think I said during the broadcast, this is different than Ohio State going up to Iowa City last year and JT Barrett having a tough night and Ohio State getting bombed. They were able to kind of get back to the drawing board and kind of clean some things up, and they had veteran leaders like JT Barrett, Billy Price. This was a team that, with all the sideshow that was going on before the season, Urban Meyer comes back, and there's issues there if you really have watched them. Their defense, the linebacker play, the safety play has been very erratic. Nick Bosa decides to leave the team, who was a captain of the team, and his dad kind of made it sound like he wasn't going to come back till mid-December anyway, so he wanted to focus on getting ready, and so you can't run the football. The offensive line, they could say whatever they want, but the line is struggling. They threw it 72 times against Purdue. So I think there's a lot there, and I think Urban Meyer, I'm 100% agree with you that Urban Meyer, he's not going to talk about it publicly. 2 or 3 weeks ago, he took a knee. He kind of grabbed his head, and he said that he's been having headaches. He doesn't look the way he's looked since he's been at Ohio State, where he said, listen, if I'm going to take this Ohio State job after what I went through at Florida, I'm going to keep my priorities straight, family first, not going to get out of whack. And if you watch him on the sidelines since he has been back, he looks the word I've used is anguish. He looks frustrated. He looks very emotional and erratic. And his team right now, you're going to find out what they're made out of, because, like I said, you lost to Iowa last year. You had leaders to get you back. You lose this year. We'll see how they respond. But they've got some big problems.
Can they still make the playoffs if they've gone from number 2 to number 11? What has to happen for Ohio State?
Well, I think, first of all, they got to worry about tackling and running the football before they worry about the playoffs. But the reality is they get a bye week this week to get healthy. Got Nebraska at home. They go up to East Lansing. They go to Maryland. And you know how things are. If they're able to play better, the way they're playing right now, they could lose to Nebraska, who can score a lot of points. But if they play better and play the way they're capable, then I think if they win those games against Nebraska, Michigan State, and Maryland, there's a really good chance that you're looking at the winner of the Ohio State-Michigan game winning the Big Ten East and then getting into the Big Ten championship. And they would have a shot then. If you look at how it sits right now, you got Alabama, you got Clemson, you got Notre Dame. The potential argument could be the winner of the Big 12 championship against the winner of the Big Ten championship if it's Ohio State or Michigan, trying to say that they deserve to be in there. And if Michigan wins, Michigan would probably end up being the team that would go to the playoffs. Jim Harbaugh goes from some of their own fans thinking he can't win the big game to possibly making a playoff run.
Best team other than Alabama is who?
Clemson.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fine. I think they're finally kind of finding their stride. Their defense is really, really good, especially up front. And the quarterback situation with Kelly Bryant leaving, Trevor Lawrence coming in, true freshman. A lot of people raise their eyebrows about that, but Trevor Lawrence is a difference maker. He's not maybe at Tua's level yet, the Alabama quarterback, but he's got so much potential, and he just seems to be getting better and better each week with more experience. So, yeah, I think clearly there's Alabama and there's Clemson, and then there's, in my opinion anyway, I think there's a pretty significant gap, and then you start to get to LSU and Notre Dame and Michigan, and from that point down.
Do you think that if we keep seeing sort of Alabama, Clemson the next couple of years, then the momentum to open this up to make it an 8-game playoff, is this going to help build momentum to change the system once that contract expires?
Well, if you ask me, I would say yes. If you ask Reese Davis, he and I disagree. Reese would tell you, if you want to change it, beat these teams. Like I love the idea. I always wanted it to be just 4. I said college football's regular season matters.
Yeah.
I don't want it to become March Madness where nobody cares about the regular season. give me my bracket. Let's watch the 3 weeks at the end. College football, man, it's every week we're excited about what's happening. And with that being said, after watching it since 2014, I would love to see it expanded. I'd love to see it go to 6 or possibly 8 and have more teams with a shot to get in there at the end because of what you're saying. Clemson, Alabama, it's almost like a broken record. It's like LeBron, it used to be with the Cavs and Golden State. It's just, everything else that happens during the regular season, hurry up and get to LeBron going up against Golden State. That's how it kind of feels with college football with Alabama and Clemson right now. So I wouldn't have a problem opening this thing up at all. We'll see if it happens. But, I think that the conference commissioners have made it pretty clear that they're going to stay at 4 for now. And it's going to take something pretty big, I think, for them to change their minds.
He's Kirk Herbstreit from the Mothership on the call. Texas-Oklahoma State coming up this Saturday on ABC. College Game Day will be in Jacksonville for Florida versus Georgia. What was it like getting out of the stadium in West Lafayette on Saturday night?
Oh, man. Like you said, game day in the morning, and I stayed for my high school. My boys are in high school now, and my twins are seniors, and they play here in Nashville. And so I stayed for their game Friday night, and then I flew to Pullman and got in. And I don't know, we've had some fun game days over the years, but that was as crazy and festive of an atmosphere throughout the entire show, even before the show and after the show. And so I left that scene, which was crazy, and flew about 4 hours to West Lafayette. And I said, this was not a surprise that Ohio State lost to Purdue. I said in August that Ohio State's potential Iowa game that they got to be ready for is at Purdue. And Purdue is a team that maybe people who aren't Purdue fans don't really respect. They started the year 0-3. But they've been getting better. Their coach is big time, Jeff Brom, and they got a great quarterback. Rondale Moore, maybe the most electrifying player in the country. He's a true freshman. And when they won, you saw the scene after the game, the entire fan base on the field, one of those moments in college football, and trying to get out of there. I mean, it's kind of what you would expect. It's like going back to UD at the Ghetto after the Flyers just won a huge game. It's that kind of scene that makes college football so unique, and they were obviously fired up about that big upset.
I mentioned that on this day a couple of years ago, Mahomes went against Baker Mayfield, and Mahomes, I think, threw 72 times. I know we look at Mahomes now, and everybody goes, "Oh, I saw all of this greatness here." Do you remember the first time? Yeah. Do you remember the first time you saw Mahomes and what your reaction was?
You know what? I do remember, and I thought it was just another Texas Tech quarterback in the system, throwing the ball around 50, 60, 70 times, and didn't really think much about it. I personally have a hard time evaluating Texas Tech air raid quarterbacks and how they're going to fit in the NFL. And to their credit, the NFL has tweaked, as we see with Kansas City, L.A., Chicago, even in certain cases with Brady in New England. They're tweaking things and becoming a little bit more like college football. And think about Andy Reid, who grew up in the West Coast offense, for him to recognize at this stage of the game that instead of just being, hey, I'm a West Coast guy, this is my offense, he decides to tweak his system to his quarterback's strengths, and the rest is history. I mean, I'm a Bengals fan, and I watched that game last night and just felt bad for him, watching him try to defend the playmakers around Mahomes. But I would have never – I don't think anybody could have ever told you that Patrick Mahomes is going to become what he is now in the NFL, because it was so hard to predict how do these air raid quarterbacks transition into the NFL. Are they going to drop back 7 steps in the pocket, read defenses – and it's not many of them do well. And this guy obviously is off to just a brilliant career.
Good stuff, Herbie. And thanks for being honest about Patrick Mahomes, because now I'm hearing everybody going, I knew this guy was going to be great.
No, nobody knew it. Nobody knew it. I mean, honestly, and you might have known it when he was a rookie because people saw what Kansas City was doing with their offense. But tell me any difference between what he was doing and every single guy over the last 8 or 10 years in Texas Tech's offense was doing. he deserves a lot of credit because he's a special talent. But I think Andy Reid, recognizing that talent and tweaking his system, deserves just as much, if not more, credit for adjusting his offense.
Good stuff, Herbie. Safe travels. Thanks for joining us. That's Kirk Herbstreit, ESPN college football analyst.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.